Hello, hola, bonjour, hello, annyeonghaseyo, ni hao to all Saga fans all throughout the world. My name's Neil Broadley. I'm the localization director for the Saga franchise, and we are here today with a very special video because, as you may have heard, we've recently announced a collaboration between one of our recently released titles, Saga Emerald Beyond, and the super duper hit classic Vampire Survivors. So we're here to talk a little bit about the collaboration today, and I have two very special guests, one on each side of me. So first we have Luca Galante from poncle. Luca, can you please introduce yourself, say a few words?
Yes, of course. Hi, my name is Luca. I've always been a programmer, really, and then I one day have made Vampire Survivors that accidentally became a hit game, and now I am accidentally running a game company called poncle.
That's awesome. So how did you get started working as a programmer in games? Did you always want to be a game designer, or?
I always wanted to be a game designer, yeah, but I didn't even know as a kid that game designer was a profession. So I became a programmer instead.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And also we have today from Square Enix, we have Akitoshi Kawazu. じゃあ川津さん、自己紹介をお願いいたします。
川津秋敏です。35年前からSaGaシリーズを作っています。
And I'm sure some of you watching this game have played one, but maybe you haven't played the other. So let's talk a little bit about each of these two games. First, I guess we'll start with Vampire Survivors. Vampire Survivors is a gothic horror kind of monster killing game where you're attacked by endless hordes of monsters kind of attacking you, and you try to destroy them with a whole bunch of different weapons. But you don't want to hear me talk about it, you want to hear Luca talk about it. So Luca, can you tell us a little bit about Vampire Survivors for people who maybe haven't played it before?
Yeah, absolutely. I made Vampire Survivors mostly for myself, just by trying to put in all the things I like and remove all the things I don't like in games. And then accidentally I found out a lot more people like it. And I guess people like how easy it is to play the game, to get into it, and to feel powerful while playing the game, because you can very quickly snowball against all these creatures that get thrown at you. And every time you get new weapons, new characters to unlock, and so you get to experiment and have fun with different things every time you play the game.
So I played a lot of Vampire Survivors, and for me, one of the things that's most fun about it is that you can just kind of pick it up and just kind of run with it and play it for, half an hour or whatever, and then go back to whatever you were doing. And to me, being able to play a game in little bites like that is a lot of fun. Was that something that you took into account when you were making Vampire Survivors for the first time?
Yeah, for sure. I don't have time to play, I don't have that much time to play games anymore, so I thought it would just be a good idea to make the runs in the game don't last that long. It was never my intention to keep people awake until 2 in the morning playing the game continuously. That's the thing about the game, you start playing just for a little bit and then you end up having too much fun, I guess, and you just keep playing it.
Right, right. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's cool to hear straight from the horse's mouth, kind of what's going on with the game. I love it. I love it. And I'm sure there are some of you out there who maybe have played Vampire Survivors, but you haven't played Saga Emerald Beyond.
バトル中心のゲームなんですけれども、いろんな世界を、いろんな主人公で巡り歩いて、で、いろんな敵が出てくるんですけれど、それを、戦いながら乗り越えていってストーリーを楽しんでもらう、すごい歯ごたえのあるバトルが楽しめます。
バトル好きにはたまらないということでよろしいでしょうか。So that's a little bit about each of our games. We heard a little bit about Vampire Survivors. We heard a little bit about Saga Emerald Beyond. But I kind of want to talk to you kind of a little bit about who you both are. So Luca, you've been to Japan before? How many times have you been to Japan before?
Yeah, you've been in Japan a couple of times already.
Okay.
And every time is just business meeting after business meeting after business meeting. So I never got to enjoy much of Japan or visit that much of it.
Did you take some time to be able to kind of see the sites while you were here too, or was it also again just mostly business for you while you were in
Yeah,
Japan?
specifically for this trip. I booked more days basically to try and visit a bit more Japan, and instead those days got filled up with business meetings as well. But it just reflects who I am, but always working, always focused on just making new things, really.
So maybe then the next time you come, you can actually put business aside and then just, go to an onsen, go to some temples, kind of enjoy your time a little bit. But
I'll try. Let's see what happens.
See what happens? クリエイターとしての信念といいますか、こういうところを気にしてゲームを作ってますよっていうようなところもしあれば教えていただきたいんですけれど。
せっかく自分で作るわけですから、他のゲームでは体験できないようなゲーム性を必ず入れていくっていうのをいつも気にして作ってますね。 ね。はい、SaGaシリーズいつもフリーシナリオで、どこに行ってもいいっていうふうに作るんですけれど、そのせいで次何をしたらいいかすごく分かりづらいところがあったので、今回は設定の段階から、主人公たちが次に何をするべきかがこう見えているっていう設定を入れて、そうすることで、プレイヤーが迷わないで済む、次のステップにどんどん行って、次のチャレンジを、やっていけるようにっていうところをちょっとこう、世界観からそういうのを入れてみました今回は。
So Luca, what was your first impression upon meeting Kawazu-san?
Well, for me, Kawazu-san has always been an inspiration when it comes to game design. So it was a very, it's a bit surreal to be able to meet him in person. So it was really good because I was able to talk to him a little bit about game design and how much the SaGa series has inspired me to think outside of the box and to try different things with games.
Thank you very much, Luca. じゃあ川津さん、初めて会ったということなんですけれども、会ってみてどうですか？
そうですね。ゲーム業界の、方、にはよく会うわけですけど、実はクリエイターの方に会うのって多分初めてなんですよ。ですからこう想像してたような方とはちょっと違ってるんですよね。もっとこうなんていうんですかね、こういう言い方していいのかどうかわかんないですけど、もう少しオタクっぽい人かなと思っててもうエンジニアっぽいっていうかビジネスマンっぽいっていうか、そういう方だっていうあんまり思ってなかったので、初めて見て、こういう方がやっぱりゲームを作るんだなっていうのはすごいこうちょっと新鮮っていうか、不思議な感じがしています。
So obviously we've got this collaboration between SaGa Emerald Beyond the SaGa franchise and Vampire Survivors. And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this video are kind of wondering, how on earth did these two very disparate games come together? You know, how did we settle on this kind of collaboration? So I guess I'd like to turn the floor over to you, Luca. How did this come about? Why are we here today? How did this actually become a thing?
So I've always been very influenced by the SaGa series when I make games or prototypes. And for example, in Vampire Survivors, there are actually a couple of references to the SaGa series that I wasn't expecting anyone to ever pick up. And instead, fans of SaGa did pick them up and were very surprised and happy to see that there were other people out there who know those little things about the series. So while the two series are completely different, I feel like there is something at the base of the design philosophy for both series about making something that is fun, that immediately puts the player in the action and just have fun with the systems of the game. Maybe the complex battle systems of SaGa, or maybe the very simple system of Vampire Survivors. But the idea is always to just focus on the fun element for both. Not to mention all the flashiness of the beautiful effects of SaGa and the super chaotic effects of Vampire Survivors. There is this feeling of power that comes from both games that I feel like it works as a bridge. Vampire Survivors is also really odd when it comes to the settings. Despite starting from a very specific gothic horror settings, it then degenerates and goes a little bit everywhere. And I feel like it's something that I felt from several of the SaGa games where the universe is so colorful and unpredictable that just makes it beautiful in a way.
Thank you very much, Luca. じゃあ川津さん、それを受けて今のお話を聞いてどう思われますか？
最初にコラボの話聞いた時、なんで Why って感じだったんですけどねなぜSaGaっていうのは最初にあって、でルカさんが、SaGaシリーズが好きでリスペクトしてくれてるって聞いて、すごくそこはありがたいなと思ってます。実際自分もそのヴァンパイアサバイバーでプレイして、今本当にいろんなサバイバーゲーム出てますけど、本当にこうなんていうんですかね、手軽に遊べるっていうよりも割とこう油断していると本当にすぐやられちゃって、すごいこう意外と難しいんですね。一番最初の自分すぐやられて、これどういうことなんだろうと思いながら、実すごいもっとカジュアルなゲームだと思って最初プレイしてたんで、意外とこう選ぶ武器であったりとか、敵にステージに応じて どういう武器が合うとかいうのがすごくこう綿密に組み立てられていて、でどういう順番で、その強化をしていくかとか、そういう戦略性とか、そういうところをこう、突き詰めていくとこう、最初の10分の壁を越えられるようになって、でいつの間にか30分遊んじゃってるっていう、こういわばこうその、デザインされたこう罠にこう見事にはまってしまうっていう、そういうところはすごいこう、ゲームとして、すごいよくできてるなと思いながら、いつもプレイさせてもらってます。はい。
I'm kind of interested in hearing about how you made the approach, Luca, to the company.
Yeah, one day I just got an email from Ichigawa-san from Square Enix, and I had no idea what to expect from this email. I didn't even know if it was authentic or not, basically. But the email was about, it contained a little GIF animation that the marketing team for the SaGa team was working on. That was depicting a very nice little game like Vampire Survivors, but with the SaGa characters. And that was beautiful. And so we just started to talk about what we could do together, and now we're here, I guess. I immediately started to throw 1,000 ideas on the table, and I was trying to sort of fit the collaboration within some very strict deadlines. I wanted that were mostly self-imposed. So over time we realized it would take longer for, this stuff takes a lot of time to do, even just the paperwork, for example. So we just reached a point where we decided to delay it a little bit until now, basically, so that we could also have time to add as much content as possible for this collaboration.
So, Luca, another question for you. I understand that when you were originally planning on doing the collaboration, you were only going to have the 6 main characters, the 6 protagonists from SaGa Emerald Beyond. And how did you decide to make so many? Because there are so many characters in the game that were not originally planned to be in the original DLC. So what was the point that you realized we wanted to do more?
After playing the initial demo a little, I immediately started to understand that I would have not been able to just make those few characters. That the world is just so rich of interesting characters that it would have been impossible for me to have a very neat cut-off point. So it just makes certain characters relies on having a lot of specific party members. So I try to add those party members as special abilities for other characters, and it just didn't feel completely right. So I just ended up turning those characters into other playable characters. But then you end up in a situation where you have these extra playable characters that have a favorite weapon. Maybe that weapon wasn't supposed to be in the initial DLC plan, and now we had to add that additional weapon as well. So long story short, as I kept playing Emerald Beyond and as I kept working on the collaboration, it just didn't feel right to cut off too much content. It felt right instead to try and add as much as possible.
触ってみて、見てみての感想っていうのは教えていただけたらと思いますけれども。
本当にじゃあヴァンパイアサバイバーの世界の中でエメラルド・ビヨンドがどう再現されるのかっていうのは、正直最初は話聞いた段階では、全然想像ができなかったんですよね。でも実際でもキャラクターたちが動いてで実際にバトルをしているのを見るとまさに境目の世界がそこに広がっていたんで、もうどっちかというとすごいなっていう感想ですよね。
Obviously, you've done a lot of DLC with Vampire Survivors today, and they've all been wonderful. I own all of them, by the way. If you don't own the DLC for this, you need to go out and buy them right now because this is one heck of a game. So, with SaGa Emerald Beyond, what were you looking to put into Vampire Survivors that was SaGa Emerald Beyond specific, or kind of what care did you take to faithfully replicate SaGa Emerald Beyond?
Yeah, definitely took the famous and the main mechanics of the SaGa series as a whole, as a first thing. So, for example, the glimmers, that is such a big element of the whole SaGa series that it just makes sense to try and replicate that feeling of the surprise that you get when you get the glimmer. But then going into the more specific things of Saga Emerald Beyond, at first it was still about trying to replicate some of the game mechanics, for example the showstopper. In Emerald Beyond, when it feels very good when a character does a showstopper and you see them using all these abilities in a row, is very exhilarating. In Vampire Survivors it was easy to replicate because we just make the character attack very quickly and so we get to a very similar situation, right? But then again, as I kept playing Emerald Beyond and started to understand and learn more about the characters, I also started to make things more specific. For example, you get Ameya that's in Vampire Survivors, just like in Emerald Beyond, she can find new cats to take care of.
I love it.
And every time she picks up a cat, she becomes a little bit stronger.
もうカズさん的にはアメヤ好きなキャラじゃないですか。なのでアメヤの猫集めっていう話なんですが。
ね、本当に猫集められるだけでもうそれだけで楽しいですよね、あれはね。なんでこうそのまあヴァンパイアサバイバーズ自体がすごい楽しいゲームなんですけれど、そこにこう、サガエメの独特の世界観だったり、フレーバーだったりが乗っかることでまたこう楽しみの幅が広がって、ね、広がることにこう貢献できたのかなっていうのは、そこはちょっとすごい嬉しいですよね。はい、
ちなみにちょっと僕個人的な趣味で申し訳ないんですけど、アメヤが猫を集めるっていうことはどういう発想から来てたんですか？
いや最初にその猫を集めるっていうのがアイデアとして最初にまずとにかくゲームの中でなんか猫を集めようっていう、誰が集めるかあんまり考えてなかったです。最初は猫集めのアイデアが先にやって、じゃあそのアメヤが魔力を失うって設定はもともと最初にあったんで、じゃあ魔力が猫になったことにしようっていう、そこは強引なんですけど、魔女と猫親和性の高い関係ですから、そういうことで猫にしてっていう、ある意味強引なカップリングなんですけどね。
なるほど。Thank you, Kawazu-san, for that.
That is a really interesting thing because that's I feel like that's a lot of stuff of Vampire Survivors also happens to come from ideas that then just happen to work well when put together. Also, it's a bit of place of randomness and creativity that you cannot really plan for it. It just comes up as you start working on something for real. And that's where I learned to do that anyway. Learn to think outside of the box from playing games like the SaGa series, where in every iteration of the series you find completely different game mechanics or different worlds. And so I'm not surprised to find out that the cats were something that came, that the mana collection of Ameya came after the cats actually.
そういうなんていうんですかね、まず何やりたいが先にあって、でそれを入れるためにアイデアを飛躍させて、でこの一見なんか関係なさそうなものが一つのゲームの中にうまく入ると、満足感の高いものができるんで、そこは常にチャレンジですよね。
Obviously, you're meeting Kawazu-san in person. Is there something that you've always wanted to ask him that you'd like to ask him? I mean, he's sitting right over here, so now's your chance. If there's something you'd like to ask Kawazu-san.
So yeah, there's something that I always found very interesting about the SaGa series, which is as soon as you start playing the game, you expect maybe a classic RPG, and instead you immediately find out that hit points work in a completely different way than other RPGs, and you have life points as well. And it takes a bit to get used to it, but when you get used to it, you see that there is something very interesting about starting a battle always at full health, for example. So I wanted to know how Kawazu-san got that idea to that conclusion that this will make for different type of battles, more interesting kind of battles.
バトルを楽しむのが目的でゲームを作っているところがあるので、そうするとそのヒットポイントがすごく減った状態でバトルに入るともうあんまり楽しくないわけですね、その時点で。もしくは誰か倒れてるとかいう時点でその戦力的なガタガタになっていて、もともと持ってる、プレイヤーが持ってる戦略とかが実行できない。そうなるとそれを想定して バトルバランスを取ったりだとか、敵の攻撃も弱ってることも含めてある程度手加減するっていうか、そういうことをしなきゃいけなくなるんで、それだとやっぱり面白くない。我々がスポーツ見る時に、サッカーで11対11じゃなくて片方が8人しかいなかったらそれは面白いゲームになるわけがないので、であれば11対11でフルでちゃんとお互いベストな状態で戦ってるのを見たら当然面白いわけなので、そういう意味で、当然その両方がベストな状態で戦わせてあげるっていうのが、元の発想ですよね。当然それに合わせてこちら全体的なルールであったり、敵の強さであったり、敵側の戦術だったりっていうことも全部組み立ててあるので、そこに向かってプレイヤー側も、ベストな状態で、立ち向かって、それが一番面白くなるっていう、そこが元々の発想ですよね。でそれがでも HP が常に満タンでそうやってなってると、じゃあ、逆に緊張感はどうしてもなくなってしまうので、であればLP という、長期的に戦っていく中で、減っていくとだんだん不利になってくるっていう要素を入れることで、いかにLP を減らさないで戦うかっていう、そういうチャレンジもプレイヤー側にしてもらうっていう、それを、一種のペナルティーになるわけなんで、そこを持つことでゲームのテンションを保つっていう、そういう工夫のために、HP がフルになって、その代わり LP が減っていくっていうルールを入れたっていう形ですね。
Thank you very much for that, Lucia. It really shows how thinking outside of the box can allow you to find new solutions to problems that sometimes players don't even know that they have. I feel like almost everything in SaGa adopts this point of view of trying to solve problems, and it's been always a huge inspiration for me.
So when you were making Vampire Survivors originally, a couple of years ago, did you take any inspiration from the SaGa franchise when you were making Vampire Survivors, or was it something that kind of wasn't in your mind very much when you were making the game originally?
Yeah, definitely. Like I was saying before, there are some very high-level design decisions that got influenced by SaGa, just at a subconscious level, like trying to focus on the fun element, getting the player immediately to the juicy parts of the game. But as I kept working on Vampire Survivors, I started to add things from all games I like, references to all sorts of games I like into it. So there are actually a couple of direct references to the SaGa games in some of the abilities that you can obtain in Vampire Survivors. And yeah, it's been really cool to see some fans finding out about these references and being shocked that could actually have been a reference to SaGa, because it's not very common, especially in the West, for people to know SaGa very well.
Obviously, Vampire Survivors is a stalwart in the genre. It's kind of like the marquee. It basically spawned a genre, basically, of different games. And you've done a lot of collaborations with various franchises and IPs and stuff like that. Would you ever consider maybe not changing, but kind of altering the way that Vampire Survivors plays to make a franchise fit? Is that something you have ever considered? Or do you want to kind of, stay in your lane, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it?
So there are certain things in the core gameplay that I will never change, otherwise it will change the whole idea behind the game. Like a lot of players ask for a second, to use a second stick from the controller to aim some weapons, but that would make the choice of certain weapons could be completely irrelevant then. So certain things I won't do, but then there are a lot of others instead that I really have fun adapting basically to Vampire Survivors. So adapting the glimmer system was a lot of fun. It ended up working really well in the context of Vampire Survivors. And for this collaboration in particular, I also try to, without altering the main gameplay mechanics, to try to make as many references as possible to SaGa Emerald Beyond. So for example, we have Diva number 5 that can change body types, just like in Emerald Beyond. Before I was talking about how Maya can collect cats. Also certain characters, like Bonnie and Formin up here, are playable as a pair of characters instead of just being alone. Or even Tsunori Mido, who actually gets the help of the 4 Kugutsu in battle that assume a very specific battle formation. So those are all things that is really fun to incorporate in Vampire Survivors without altering the original DNA of the game, though.
So Luca, I have kind of a personal question for you. So you've been to Japan a couple times before. What's your favorite food to eat in Japan?
So my favorite food is egg sandwich from Family Mart.
Oh, wow, okay. Can I ask why?
I have simple taste when it comes to food.
That's fair.
And so the feeling of the egg sandwich from the convenience store is just delicious to me. I have it every day.
You know, it's funny you say that because I've lived in Japan 23 years now, I think at this point. 23, 20, I forget how old I am. That's how old I am. I forgot how old I am. But I've been in Japan for about 20-something years at this point. And I often hear from people who don't live here that they say Japanese convenience store food is really, really good. And I think it is true. At least, I've never been to Italy, but it's certainly better than American convenience store food. I can say that for sure. So you're not the first person I've heard to say that, and I don't think you'll be the last either. So I wouldn't worry about that.
Now I cannot have an egg sandwich in the UK anymore because they just don't compare. So yeah.
Okay, so I think that kind of wraps up our time for today. But before we go, I'd like to have both Luca and Kawazu-san say a few words to our fans. So Luca, can you say a few words to Vampire Survivors and Saga Emerald Beyond fans about this collaboration or about anything in general that you'd like to talk about?
Yes, of course. So to all of our fans who are from Japan, I hope you will like this collaboration, and I apologize if sometimes we make some silly mistakes in Japanese localization, but we'll sort it out soon as usual. To all fans in the West instead, if you know Saga, then I'm sure you'll be thrilled by knowing about this collaboration, and if you don't, you should be thrilled anyway at the huge amount of content that you will get from this collaboration and the chance of discovering maybe a new this new series.
サガのファンで、ヴァンパイアサバイバーをプレイされている方もたくさんいらっしゃると思うので、そういう方はね、一体どんな風になるんだろうと期待されてると思うんで、もう本当に、そのワクワク感のままに新しいコラボも楽しんでもらえればなと思います。それから、ヴァンパイアサバイバーのファンでまだ、サガは、名前知ってるけどプレイしたことないとか、そのゲーム何みたいな方もいらっしゃるかなと思いますけれど、今回のコラボで、本当に今までのヴァンパイアサバイバーにさらに新しい面白さをね付け加えてもらえてるんじゃないのかなと思うので、そこは純粋にまず楽しんでゲームプレイを楽しんでいただければなと思います。その上で、サガの世界観だったりキャラクターだったり興味を感じてましたら、体験版もありますので、まずはそこから楽しんでいただければなと思います。はい。
All right, everyone. I think that kind of wraps up our show for today. I'd like to thank Luca for coming here and talking with us today, and Kawazu-san, thank you very much for all of the wonderful stories that we've shared today. And I understand that Luca actually, he usually doesn't reveal his face. That's kind of something that just doesn't happen. But I understand, Luca, that you're actually willing to reveal who you are on camera for the very first time. Is that true?
Yes,
you heard it. We're going to see the man in the flesh. So shall we go? We'll drop the mask. Ready? In 3, 2, 1. Oh my God! You are fabulous. That's the only word I can think of. It's just absolutely fabulous. Like, is that real? Can I actually touch? Ooh, that's amazing. And this is what you looked like this whole time, and I didn't even know. Oh my God! This is great. Kazu-san, do desu ka?
Yeah, very drag character.
And now you see who Luca is in the flesh. So this is wonderful. Luca, thank you very much for coming here today. Thank you all for watching our video, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.